Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to break down the USFL Week 4 main slate on Draftkings. We still have some pretty decent-sized contests up, 20K to first, so there is money to be made. If you guys are a first-time viewer, welcome. My name is DK. Again, I make content for Draftkings, NBA Top Shot, Prize Picks. I cover NBA, USFL, as well as esports. The sponsor of today's video, guys, is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a player prop site that does offer USFL stuff. We've been 100% so far in USFL Prize Picks. I've been giving those away on Twitter, so make sure to follow me there. But how it works is, again, you can take over under on passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, fantasy points, all that good stuff. You can mix and match sports. So if you're a first-time user and want to give it a try, you can sign up and use my code DKDFS. That is for a 100% match up to $100. And if you guys are looking for more in-depth content for DFS, I do offer that on patreon.com. NBA, USFL, and esports package. I'm posting a ton of data here for USFL. Give you guys a little snippet there on Twitter, tweeting out some running back data with snap counts, route percentage, air yards, targets, all that good stuff. So all that data for every single position is listed on my Patreon, as well as player pools with roster construction videos, private live streams as well. So again, that is also linked down below. We had a great week 3. We had a Patreon member almost take down the big tournament, taking a third, winning $1,000. I came close in the Sunday only contest as well. I think I was in the top 50 in the big tournament, so it was pretty solid there. But yeah, other than that, let's talk some USFL. So here, let me refresh Bovada. Let me see if they have the Vegas odds out yet. Okay, so we do. There is one, I think it's one Friday game, 2 Saturday. Yeah, 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, and 1 Sunday. So Saturday game is Philadelphia and Michigan. Right now it's a 36.5 over under. One of the lower ones on the day. I would say Brian Scott probably doesn't play for Philly, but we'll keep an eye on that. And Michigan, obviously a ground and pound team. Right now that's a pick. New Jersey and Pittsburgh is a 35.5 over under. New Jersey are 9-point favorites. Again, both these teams are run-first teams as well, New Jersey and Pittsburgh. The 2 later games are Tampa Bay and Birmingham. That's a 41.5 over under, with Birmingham being 4-point favorites. And Houston and New Orleans, a 41.5 over under, with New Orleans being 4.5-point favorites. Okay, so let's start off with the QB position. So at quarterback last week, there were only a few quarterbacks that played 100% of the snaps. That was Jordan Ta'amu, Clayton Thorson, Jamar Smith, and Kyle Sloter. Everyone else split time. You had Paxton Lynch from Michigan get injured, so Shea Patterson played a majority of the game there. You also saw Brian Scott get injured, so Case Cookus, I think that's how you pronounce his name, came in and played basically the entire second half. And I will mention for New Jersey, DeAndre Johnson, Luis Perez, they had been splitting snaps. In the second half, DeAndre Johnson played the entire game, so that is somewhat noteworthy. So starting at the top, all I want to say here is I am extremely, extremely happy for Jordan Ta'amu. I am not tilted one bit. No way. I played him week 1, week 2, complete bust. Finally fade week 3, 22 fancy points and an absolute smash. Like I said, I am not tilted at all. No, but seriously, back up to Tampa Bay is not good. Brady White, so Ta'amu is their best option. He does have some rushing upside, right? Went for 45 and 29 yards in the last 2 games. So I think he makes for a decent play at the top. I liked him as a contrarian play last week. I just couldn't pull the trigger on him because he lost me money in week 1 and week 2. And like I said, in typical DFS fashion, of course, he smashes when I finally fade. As I mentioned, Brian Scott got injured. We'll keep an eye on this. He did not return in the second half. If I had to guess, I would say he won't be available, but we'll monitor it. If he's able to give it a go, he's obviously one of the top quarterback plays in the slate because Philadelphia just does not run the ball. They're just going to air it out. So if Brian Scott plays, I like him. If Brian Scott misses, we can definitely look to a Case Cookus, who was pretty good when he came out there. Went 13 of 20 for 146 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he looked pretty decent. Rushing upside, not really there, but he's very, very cheap. And if there's no Scott, I'm totally fine punting with Case Cookus. Other quarterback plays. So I mentioned Kyle Sloter. He's been a little bit banged up. Threw the ball 47 times last game. New Orleans, another team, a little bit more pass heavy. They will ground and pound with Ellis as well, but they can definitely air it out. Now, the only downside here is he's definitely playing banged up. Like, he can't really run just because he's playing injured. But I do have confidence in that New Orleans offense. Shea Patterson came in for Paxton Lynch, didn't do much, went 8 of 17 for 49 yards. It's really hard to trust the Michigan passing attack right now, so hard for me to go there. Now, J.M.R. Smith, I played him last week in my main lineup. He was solid, went for 21 fantasy points, but he did not throw the ball well. He was missing a lot of throws through 15 of 38. Not great, but they still won the game. And again, the reason J.M.R. Smith is playable here is because his rushing upside. 31 and 59 yards on the ground. So definitely still one of the top running or quarterback plays in the slate. And as I mentioned, I think DeAndre Johnson's in play for tournaments. Now, there's no guarantee he's going to play the whole game. But like I said, he played the entire second half last week. Went for almost 100 yards on the ground. And you know, that's what DeAndre Johnson can do, right? He very clearly has that rushing upside. So I'm intrigued by him for tournaments. The risk is that he split snaps again with Luis Perez. But if we get a situation where he just plays the entire game, I think he could be the highest scoring quarterback play in the week. And then, yeah, Paxton Lynch got banged up. Alex Magoo, we'll see if he's active. If Magoo's active, then I'm a little bit worried about J.M.R. Smith, just because J.M.R. Smith did not look good through the air. So we'll monitor that. Magoo was actually inactive last week, even though DraftKings had him listed as probable. And then Clayton Thorson. So you saw Kenji Bahar listed as inactive. So Thorson played the entire game. He was fine. I mean, I probably prefer other quarterback plays, but I guess he's in consideration. I'm staying away from the Pittsburgh quarterbacks. And as I mentioned, Case Cookus, I think, is a viable punt play. All right, at running back. So there were a few running backs that played a majority of the game last week. So you saw Paul Terry played the most. He played 82% of the snaps there for Philadelphia. You just saw backup run for Matt Colburn. So that was very good to see for Paul Terry. He's once again cheap. Jordan Ellis. So he played 80% of the snaps. I thought it would be a pretty even split with him and Larry Rose, and I thought Rose was a good pivot in tournaments. But Ellis played a majority of the game. They did play a little bit more Rose in the second half, but again, Ellis more the bruiser back, where if Logan's not available, you'll have Rose as the passing down back. CJ Marable played 76% of the snaps as well for Birmingham and had 6 targets. And then Mark Thompson had a massive day, played 67% of the snaps. So again, he is more of a bruiser. So those guys played a majority of the game. And all, obviously, we'll go, salary top to bottom. So we'll talk about those guys. But BJ Emmons at 9-4 was a pretty popular play last week. He actually lost some snaps to Juwan Washington. Juwan Washington played a bit more. So with Emmons, right now, I think he's more of a contrarian play. But he is involved in the passing game, 3, 4, and 4 targets over the first 3 weeks. Darnell Holland did not play last week. We'll monitor that situation. It's a hammy, so that is a little bit concerning. Michigan, here was the tilting part. They had Reggie Corbin listed as inactive, and he played and just absolutely smashed. Ran the ball 20 times for 100-plus yards and a touchdown. Unbelievable. But they did have 3 active running backs, so if they're going to run 3 active running backs again, I have no interest in anyone. I don't care that Corbin had a good game last week. I'm not chasing it if they have 3 active running backs. It's all about opportunity here in the USFL, right? So yeah, I'll be staying away from the Michigan running backs if they have 3 active again. TJ Logan's at 7-5. He missed the game last game with a foot injury, but if he's going to play again, he is very clearly their passing down back, where Ellis is more the bruiser. So if Logan plays, I clearly have interest. We'll monitor that situation. I had Trey Williams as a core play last week. He absolutely crushed at relatively low ownership, 100-plus yards in the ground, 4 catches and 5 targets. And he did outsnap Darius Victor 60 to 40%. But you did have Victor Vulture Trey Williams in the goal line. So that's the worry with Williams, is he probably doesn't get the goal line touches. Again, I just have no faith right now in this Pittsburgh running basically offense at all. So I'm just going to stay away from Pittsburgh. I mentioned CJ Marable. He played a lot. He had 16 carries, 4 catches, and 6 targets. He very much outsnapped Tony Brooks-James, almost basically 3-1. So CJ Marable, I think, makes for one of the better plays there in the mid-range. Jordan Ellis, if there's no TJ Logan, I think makes for a super safe play. Did have 4 targets. Again, played a majority of the game. Had 25 carries. That is crazy. So we'll monitor the Logan news. If Logan's out, I think Ellis makes a pretty good play. And I mentioned Mark Thompson had a massive week, 24 carries, 150 yards, basically in a touchdown. Did have 3 targets as well. I think he's going to be extremely popular after last week, but it's hard not to like Thompson just for the amount of touches that he got. And then scrolling down again, I'm staying away from the Pittsburgh running backs. I'm not touching Michigan if they have 3 running backs as well. Matt Colburn barely played. Washington did outsnap Emmons. He had 15 carries. Playable as a dart throw running back. Again, if there's no TJ Logan, you can consider Larry Rose, but he did only play 20% of snaps, which was a little bit concerning. Victor vultured in 2 touchdowns. I'm not a big fan of a guy that really needs the touchdowns to be there to get you there. So I think he's probably will be over-owned based on box score watchers. But the guy that I really like here is Paul Terry. Philadelphia only had 2 running backs, and Paul Terry played an 82% of snaps, had 9 targets, 8 catches. DraftKings is full point PPR, 3.3K. I'm totally fine going there as a punt option. All right, let's move on to wide receiver. Let's go team by team. I think it's a little bit easier if we go team by team. So we'll start with Philadelphia. So Philadelphia was a little bit different last week because they did have 5 active wide receivers. So I wasn't really sure what to do with them. But you saw 100% of the snaps for Jordan Sewell and 86% of the snaps are over 10. Gray played 61% of the snaps, Alexander 36%, and Roland only 14%. So I think Jordan Sewell is by default your safest option. 10 and 5 targets back-to-back weeks. And he did not leave the field. He's a big body wide receiver. Philadelphia's a pass-first team. He, in my opinion, is your best bet. Followed by Overton, who played almost the entire game, 86% of the snaps. He's only 4K. Hasn't done a ton with the snaps, but has a touchdown in back-to-back weeks, 3, 4, and 4 targets. So fair value play. And then I mentioned Devin Gray played 60% of the snaps. I think he's fine, but I think I would rather go to other spend-up wide receivers. Alexander and Roland, I think we can stay away from, assuming that they have 5 active wide receivers. Again, now things can change, right? When I'm making this video Wednesday afternoon, things can obviously change when we get the injury reports. But as of right now, Philadelphia has 5 active wide receivers. Don't think I want to go to Alexander or Roland. One guy I will mention, though, is Bug Howard, who did play a decent chunk. Again, he's a converted wide receiver. So Bug Howard played on 77% of the snaps and had 5 targets. So at 4K, I have no issue going there. Now, on the Michigan side, a little bit less interest for this team. They're a run-first team. Outside of Lance Lenoir, it's really hard for me to feel confident about anyone. So Lance Lenoir played 97% of the snaps, had 9 targets. Michigan only played 3 wide receivers in Ross and Walker, but they're a run-first team. Ross did have 7 targets, so I guess if I had to pick a second, it would be him. But Lenoir, I do think still makes for a good option at the top, even though Michigan's offense is hard to trust. He is very clearly their top guy and the guy they want to get the ball to. Devin Ross did have, a decent chunk of targets there at 3.5K. I think he's an okay contrarian play. And Walker, he played on 56% of snaps, so would like those snaps to go up. So hard for me to feel confident there. And in the tight end position, you did see Marcus Baugh play a good chunk of snaps, but I think there's just other tight ends I'd rather go to. All right, New Jersey and Philadelphia. So let's talk about the New Jersey wide receivers. They did play a couple guys the majority of the game in Alonzo Moore and Darius Shepard, but both only had 1 target in each. So I think these guys are okay buy low candidates. Again, 1 target and no catches for Shepard, and Moore had 1 target, no catches. But they did play a majority of the game. So recency bias, they're going to be extremely low owned. But if they're going to play close to 100% of snaps again, I don't hate going to either of those guys. And just like with Jordan Ta'amu, I am extremely, extremely happy for Kevontae Turpin. No, I am not tilted. Played him week 1 and week 2, whether I'd been in the main or the showdown slates. I played a lot of Turpin week 1, week 2. Finally faded this week. He absolutely smashes 14 fancy points. 5 catches on 5 targets, as well as 3 carries. So once again, so happy for him. Now with Turpin, and more of the slot wide receiver there, only played on 56% of snaps, but he is a guy they want to get the ball to, right? Whether it be through the air or on the ground. So a viable contrarian option. At the tight end position, don't think I want to go to Braden Bowman. He did have 5 targets last week, but I think there's other tight ends I'd rather look to. On the Pittsburgh side, again, this is a run-first team. I have a hard time feeling confident with anyone. Bailey Gaither was, I guess, inactive, or he was active but didn't play. So got the DNP there on Draftkings or on PrizePicks, which was a little bit annoying. So we'll keep on the news for Pittsburgh. Walker played in 87% of the snaps. Mack played 79, and Hardaway played 69% of the snaps. I just have a hard time trusting anyone in the Pittsburgh wide receiver group just because they're just going to ground and pound the ball. All right, Tampa Bay and Birmingham. So on the Tampa Bay side, for wide receiver, you had Franklin play 84% of snaps, Derek Dillon 77%, Rashard Davis 59% of snaps. So We'll start with the guy that had the good game last week, and that's Derek Dillon, 5K. Had 6 catches and 6 targets. Also had 1 carry. He's a speedster, and his snaps did bump up a bit, so I think he's in play here. He had a big week last week. I would assume Tampa Bay wants to play him a good amount after last week. Other wide receiver plays, I think Franklin's the only guy I'm considering. They'll use him at times. Wildcat, 4 and 3 carries now. So 7 carries over the last couple weeks, did have 6 targets as well. And he played the most of the Tampa Bay wide receivers. And at tight end, they're kind of splitting duties right now with Hampton and O'Grady. So hard for me to go feel confident there. Now on the Birmingham side, so the positive with Birmingham is they're basically just running 3 wide receivers the entire game. So you saw 100% of the snaps for Victor Bolden, 90% of snaps for Marlon Williams, and 83% of the snaps for Cyrus Mitchell. So that's really, really good to see. Condensed target share, condensed snap percentage as well. So Victor Bolden, I think, is your safest play on the board. He's averaging over 10 targets a game. He's playing the entire game. They just want to get the guy the ball. So he's going to be extremely popular, but it's hard not to like Bolden. Now, I think Cyrus Mitchell is an interesting bounce-back candidate. He was relatively popular last week, put up a donut, but still played over 80% of snaps. So he's a big body wide receiver they can look to in the red zone. He had 2 targets through the first 2 weeks. So I like Mitchell as a contrarian play. And then I mentioned Marlon Williams, so I tweeted out sneaky GPP plays. Marlon Williams was a guy I tweeted out at he was like 5% owned, went for 12 fancy points, had 6 targets, only 1 catch. He hasn't done a great job catching the ball, but he's still getting a lot of looks. So the top 3 wide receivers I think are all in play. At tight end, I think Kerry Angeline is fine. So snap percentage, he played 73% snaps, did have 8 targets, only 6.3K. I think he's a fair play. Decent pass catching tight end. And finally, Houston and New Orleans. So for Houston wide receivers, you had Isaiah Zuber play 91% snaps. Tyler Simmons played 75%, and Anthony Ratliff-Williams played 60% of the snaps. So Zuber, I think, is playable. I think he'll be a bit over-owned, though. He's a big body wide receiver. He's played a good amount of the game, but he's only averaging about 4 targets a game and has had a touchdown each of the first 3 weeks. So I don't think we can continue to rely on him scoring every single week. So I think Zuber makes for an interesting fade this week. He'll probably be over-owned because of box score watchers. Tyler Simmons at 4-2, I think he's a fine pivot. 10 and 6 targets over the last couple of weeks. Like for me, I think I would rather go to Simmons over Zuber just for the target share, and I think he'll be lower owned. I don't think I want to get to Ratliff Williams. JoJo Ward's been inactive back-to-back weeks after having a great week 1, so we'll keep an eye on that news. At the tight end position, nothing I'm really looking to on Houston. And finally, New Orleans. So it was pretty tilting, the Jonathan Adams game. So he played 98% of the snaps, had 4 targets, but only 1 catch. Sean Poindexter played 83% of the snaps, and Johnny Dixon had the big game playing 73% of the snaps. So it'll be interesting to see what the ownership comes out. I think, people will probably overreact and jam in Johnny Dixon. While I think Johnny Dixon's a solid play playing out of the slot, I think, it's interesting to maybe go to Adams over him in tournaments. But yeah, 6, 9, and 10 targets for the first 3 weeks for Dixon playing out of the slot. No issue going to him. Again, he does have one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Sean Poindexter, back-to-back, decent games after I played him week 1. He had a donut. He's another big body wide receiver. And then Jonathan Adams played basically the entire game, but only had 1 catch. I think he makes her a nice bounce-back candidate at a cheap price point and probably lower ownership. You saw a little bit of work for Taywan Taylor, former NFL wide receiver, but his snaps weren't as high as the other 3, so probably can't go there. And another guy I tweeted out about as a good contrarian play was Sal Cannella, who did have 6 catches, 10 targets, and 64 yards. So with Cannella, I think he's probably my favorite tight end play. Played 95% of the snaps. I think he'll be low on again. So, I'm pretty high in this New Orleans offense. Even though Sloter's banged up, I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in this league. But yeah, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for the video. Again, if you do enjoy, just make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Those things do help me out a ton. Again, if you're looking for that more in-depth content, check out my Patreon down below. But have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see everyone in the next video.